Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all here in this webinar session being conducted by TNV Academy. First of all, let me introduce the speaker of the day for today's webinar. I am glad to have Mr. Ajay Bajpai with us as the guest speaker of today's webinar. The topic with which he is here today with all of us is Food Safety Management System Policy, which is covered under Clause 5.2 of ISO 22000-2018 standard. This is a topic in which we all must be deeply interested as food safety is the need of today's era. Access to enough safe and nutritious food is key to sustaining life and promoting good health. And hence, organizations that are into food processing and production has to ensure safety through an effective drafting and implementation of food safety policy. Mr. Ajay Bajpai has audited several organizations for ISO 22000 standard and has assisted several others in the implementation of the same. If I talk about his overall experience and his education, then our distinguished speaker, Mr. Ajay Bajpai, has done his bachelor's in engineering in metallurgy stream. He is also a lead auditor in ISO 9001, 14001, 45001, 37001, 22000, 27001, 13485, 22301, and 50001 standards respectively. He has an industrial experience of around 38 plus years in field of manufacturing, design, quality control, and quality assurance. He has been imparting training to a number of organizations, entrepreneurs, and individuals on various topics related to ISO terminologies and how ISO standards are implemented within organizations. It was just a brief introduction of our guest speaker today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Ajay Bajpai. I may request Mr. Ajay Bajpai now to please take over and start the webinar.
Thank you, Apur, and the team who have joined for the today's webinar on Food Safety Management System Policy, which is Clause 5.2 of ISO 22000 standard. So, as he has explained that we have a situation today that food is a requirement of everybody, including animals, birds, all sustainable whosoever are there on the earth, on maybe on the other part of the universe, need food to survive. So many organizations, are very actively looking into food safety certifications today. In today's time of crisis, as we were discussing into one of the last webinars in the morning, we are having a scarcity of food everywhere due to the war situations, due to the earthquake situations. But whatever food is available should be safe. So with that concept, the food safety management system certifications are done. And when we are talking of implementing food safety certification, the FSMS policy is the beginning of the certification process in most of the cases. So this policy needs to be established by the top management, and top management gives the direction that what should be their food safety management policy. And it is important to see that it is appropriate to the purpose and context of the organization. You see, when we go into auditing, sometimes we find a mismatch here. Organizations have copied and pasted FSMS policies from similar kind of organization, similar kind of units maybe, but they cannot be the same. Their context may not be the same. Their purpose may not be the same. Items may look like same. It may look like a dairy item. It may look like ice cream production. It may like a butter production. But do they have subcontractors involved into it? Do they involve customers into supply of packaging material into it? Do sub customer gives a particular chemical to be incorporated into the manufacturing of the ice cream and so on. So it is a unique policy for every organization, not same as has been taken by some consultant or some trainers from here and there. We absolutely hate that kind of an activity being done by anybody, and it becomes very risky for the organization. They are misguided. Then what happens? It also provides a framework for setting and reviewing of the objectives of the FSMS. So how the policy will be implemented? It is done with the support of objectives. So the language and the method and the documentation should be taking care of the objectives of the FSMS as well. Also, we need to see that a lot of statutory regulatory requirements related to the products, the processes, and at times the customer requirements. They need to be indicated into our FSMS policy statement, because when we go for the audit, we will see all these requirements pertaining to food safety of that organization. Also, the policy needs to address the internal and external communication. How this policy will be internally communicated, how external communication will take place. We'll go into details what is external communication and so on. But for basic understanding, we need to see that both kind of communications are equally important for our FSMS policy to achieve successful implementation into the organization and elsewhere as desired by the customers or statutory and regulatory requirements, maybe into different units and subcontractor place and so on. Also, it needs to include a commitment for continual improvement of the FSMS. Food safety management policy is being discussed because they are going for FSMS certification and FSMS system improvement, if not certification, maybe in some cases. So the commitment of FSMS policy must be clearly indicated that yes, continual improvement will be there into my policy, and my policy will be seeing that FSMS is getting continually improved with the implementation of FSMS policy. It also needs to address the needs to ensure the competency related to food safety. FSMS has got very specific requirement for the competencies. Food producers, food handlers, food testers, food team leaders. So all these competencies will be defined into details when we take the support of the technical standard of FSMS, because FSMS 22000 is supported by technical standard 2203 and other standards at 22000 and so on. So those competencies are defined there. Policy should be in line with those requirements. Now we again get back to the communication of the food safety policy. It should be available and maintained as a documented information. When we go for second party, third party audit, we would like to see that yes, documentation of food safety policy has been done and it is available to us for conducting an effective audit so that the value addition can be done in policy. We always say in ISO system, nothing is forever. With the changing team, with the changing management, with the changing technology, with the changing items, add-ons, the policy needs to be updated, upgraded, add-ons should become. So the documentation also needs to be upgraded as per the requirements. Also, we need to communicate the policy at various levels of the organization and they should understand the theme of the policy. So communication should be very, very clear and they should know what my organization food safety policy is saying when I am into manufacturing of some of the dairy products like food items or the curd or the ice cream or maybe whatever is the scope of the. As I said in the communication we'll discuss, it should be available to relevant interested parties as appropriate. We always say it should not be communicated to somebody who is not requiring to know the policy unnecessarily. So we waste our energy, we waste the energy of the respective interested party, but his role is not there at all into FSMS. So we need to be clear that relevant interested parties as appropriate should be communicated and they should know what is my dairy products manufacturing food safety management policy. So then only they can add value. If it goes to inappropriate places, non-interested parties, it may be downgraded. We may not get the values as desired because our aim is to see that yes, continual improvement is brought about by FSMS policy implementation. Then what do we do? What are the desired results? In the beginning of the FSMS system implementation, the concept of food safety policy needs to be understood by the team. So the team is trained on the concept, not just read the lines here and there, but understand the concept because food is very, very typical in its nature, its self life, and several things are there which we'll discuss in other seminars, emergency preparedness, and so on. So the concept should be understood. Then only we can have a foods which is safe with respect to the implementation of food safety policy. If we have policy adequately documented, communicated, then it helps into the implementation of FSMS and as per the global requirements and customer requirement. The whole globe needs food. Everybody needs food, as we discussed. So, if we can provide a safe food with the help of adequate food safety policy, we win the game. Again, we say it should be auditable and question answer clarity should be there. In some situations, we see the language is so poor that our questions go left, right. We are not, as an auditors, we ourselves are not able to develop questions into checklist because the policy is not meaningful. It is not logical. So we need to, when we are going to document, we need to take care that yes, these things are taken care of. The policy also needs to meet the needs of the interested parties. Interested parties are there who are supplying us various ingredients to be going into the butter, to go into the packaging material of the butter, to go into the primary packaging of the butter. So these interested parties have got the requirement with respect to food grade material supplied to us as a dairy product manufacturer. So we need to see that their needs are also met. We need not to make our system and policy so tough and so arrogant that they don't understand and they cannot support us. So this meaningful language should not be so that the interested parties feel offended. It happens at times. We have been into auditing and we have called some of the interested parties and we had to share sometimes and sometimes we had not shared depending upon the situation. We have to be diplomatic in audit as we know as an auditors. So interested parties have given such comments that this company, sir, they are very good, but their policy which they are trying to impose on us is going against the requirement. So bless you are there as an auditor, so try to discuss with them and see that their policies are converted into a manner so that we as an interested party also get benefited and overall improvement is seen into FSMS implementation. Meeting the vision, mission and direction of the top management. Top management has decided that they will become, the state leader in Ludhiana in next 3 years for the supply of a particular grade of milk. So that is the vision and mission of the top management. So how the food safety policy will support it, that is what is important. Our concept should be understood and our FSMS policy should be moving in line with this direction of the top management. It should not go left, right, as we see into some of the organization into audits and non-conformities are raised unnecessarily because they have not understood the concepts. Going further, we always discuss as trainer, we are also try to suggest sometimes the drafting the documentation and approval, adequate approvals are the requirement of the policy. Not just take from here and there and start implementing into the company and then ultimately not achieve the desired results in time and fail in between because of major non-conformities and so on. Provide training, we discussed. Display is again very important. We always say display is something which you see gets into your mind and heart. Yes, I have seen some very good documentation method displays. There are organizations who displays by visual method, digital methods, the videos they display, the cards are there. So for the effective implementation, they also display on websites so that all interested party, statutory regulatory boards, their clients, their first level, second level, final customer, they all at least see the websites so they can make a comment because they may be more knowledgeable than you as an organization, as a dairy products manufacturing. So they can give you input, they can give you suggestions. We have seen many inputs coming from suppliers, contractors, even the transporters to have improvement upon FSMS policy, and organization do take that, provided they are available to them. If they are not available, they cannot make any suggestions. And we also, as an auditor, when we go, when we don't see it is communicated to interested parties, we raise and seize an observation depending upon what was the situation at the time of the audit. There are various softwares available for the implementation, documentation, drafting, and so on of the food safety policy. Let's utilize them to suit our organizational need as per our products, processes, and our organizational culture, our units, our countries of supply, and so on. Then communication within the organization and all interested parties we have discussed. We are again discussing it because we are into planning. So planning for effective communication within the organization and all interested parties is a desired and required part of food safety policy implementation into the organization. Then we go next, action plan. Now we have got action plan for food safety policy implementation. So we go into various processes and start actions and monitoring simultaneously how our food safety policy is being implemented as per our plans into various processes and what are the results. Once we get that, then we conduct the analysis of food safety policy implementation and food safety targets. We have got policy, we have got implementation done, we have got food safety targets, we got different grades being manufactured into the company, different categories we are following. So what are our targets ultimately? National marketing, international marketing, the global marketing. We may go to Mars tomorrow for marketing, Moon for marketing. So with what respect our FSMS policy is being implemented, what are our targets? So we need to see that. Many organizations will develop a chart for implementation. Initially, if they are not making the chart for implementation, they will not be moving in the desired direction. So we always wish organization develop a policy chart of implementation so that their action plan is being effected, implemented effectively, and process monitorings are done. So this chart develop, then we monitor. So now what happens? We are now ready. We have spent 2-3 months after the policy was drafted. So in various functions, various processes, it is being implemented for us couple of months, couple of weeks. So we need to now enhance the effectiveness of policy implementation. How we do this effectiveness enhancement? Because we keep on updating the policy and objective chart. Policy is implemented with the support of SMS objectives. We'll have in next webinars how it is to be implemented with the objectives. But yes, now we are getting the data. So we are seeing it into various functions. And then we are getting into a calculation mode. We are having QA/QC operations. We are having a data collection department into this thing. MR or the FSMS coordinator, FSMS team leader, FSMS experts, the technical experts, they are doing the calculations of our plans which we have made with respect to the food safety policy. And then what happens? We get the facts and figures. When we do these calculations, correct calculations, we get the facts and figures. And then we need to involve all the team members to get the data. For example, there are 10 departments. We have done a very good exercise of calculations and all. We have collected the data of 8 departments, but 2 departments data analysis is not done. So what will happen? We have not involved maybe 80% of the organizational team because they consist of 2 departments. We see also situation into third party auditing. Organization have done very well, but they have missed 80% of the data calculation. They have missed about 80% of the effective calculation where FSMS was critically required as an implementation plan. The thing comes out into auditing only into internal auditing and in external auditing. Otherwise, all is going very well. All plans, all implementation was going on happily. But when audits are done, the facts and figures show us all this. We also get into the continual improvement. And if you see the willingness to review policy, the practices, various organizations may already have a very good food safety policy. Now they are going to implement 22,000 standard. That is very good. So they need to incorporate, they need to review the existing policies, practices, and they need to mix with processes on a regular and real-time basis. What technology was there yesterday for skimming of milk has changed today. What was there for the freezing point temperature controls and humidity controls last month, they have been modified. So these modifications are not acceptable to certain teams and certain departments sometimes, and they prevent the growth and success. We have seen into many companies, MR and coordinators will come, food safety team leader will come and tell us officially and unofficially sometimes. He will say, sir, what do I do, sir? These, set of, they will say, jokers are not supporting us into implementation. So what do I do, sir? They are purely mechanical, electrical team, but they fall into the group. So how do I handle them to make them conceptually clear on the FSMS policies, and they are preventing the growth? If that happens, that should be brought to they should be converted as a willingness team with various methods of management technologies which are to be utilized by various intelligent management and trained coordinators of implementation activity. So then the growth and success is seen. But if you do not take actions, there are organizations who, despite all efforts of implementation, are not getting the desired results, and management sometimes gets demotivated. The MR, the coordinator, the FSMS team themselves, we see getting demotivated, and they see, sir, what is the fun of this implementation? So we need to take adequate actions. There can be various set of action depending upon the organizations, culture, and so on, and then they find growth and success take place if they are able to take positive actions. Once all this implementation is done, then we go into analytical mode. We go into analysis and future actions. We take advantage of small group activities, cross-functional teams. As I said, mechanical and electrical teams. It is a food safety policy, but their role may be very, very critical if there are errors coming into the machines. If their QA/QC labs machines are not giving result because of the electrical or mechanical fault. So involvement of them in FSMS implementation, FSMS policy chart is very important. Many organizations have got small group activities, quality circles for implementation of various other activities. So push the food safety policy into this intelligently and see that yes, they become involved. They become a part of your team as a FSMS team leader, and implementation goes on. Now, in 3-4 months, 8-12 weeks of implementation, we have got enough data available with us. QA/QC has got a lot of data. Stores has got a lot of data. Pest control has got a lot of data. Hygiene control with respect to FS policy has got a lot of data. Emergency preparedness with respect to food safety policy has got a lot of data. So this needs to be analyzed by various techniques, to understand the direction of our food safety policy implementation. Implemented in Department 1 by 91%. Department 2, Unit 4 implemented 92%. Another unit in Singapore implemented 82%. Why? This all comes by implementation of the data analysis. And then we go for conduct of effective internal audit. By food safety policy, trained team. We have seen into organization many times, a mechanical engineer just given with a checklist is going for food safety policy implementation into the stores department, and he fails. He fails in the sense that results are not which are desired because he does not understand the concept of food safety policy. He has not given enough training. So normally into the auditing, when we go into second party, third party, even first party auditing, internal auditing, we try and discuss with the team that, send an auditor who is conceptually clear, who has got qualification of food. He cannot just go with the mechanical, electrical, and electronics food background and conduct an internal audit or second party or third party audit by fault and get into problem. Organization does not get anything out of that audit, and some files are made, some charts are made, but they do not give enough confidence that yes, ISO management system with respect to FSMS is being effectively internally audited or externally audited, and the results are there to see that continual improvements are brought. The improvements will not be to the extent desired. So we need to take effective actions for effective training of internal auditors from food safety background who has the understanding of food as a food item, not as a machine. They can only do a competent audit, and they only can become competent internal auditors. Once these trained and deemed so-called internal auditors, qualified, calibrated, maybe at times by the intelligent management of the organization of food safety team leaders and members, they have the document and data of internal audits with them, internal audit results, internal audit summary is there. So they go now for food safety policy discussion in management review meeting where the teams are there, the cross-functional teams are there, small group activity teams are there related to food safety policy implementation. And then they discuss in details and they come out with action plan, targets for further fine-tuning, further improvement of the food safety policy into my dairy or butter manufacturing organization or my marketing organization or my trading organization, whatever is the scope we have, and with respect to that we have a food safety policy for the implementation and further improvement. So now we have got the minutes of meeting available from here with respect to food safety policy implementation and improvements. So we implement, we monitor, and we go for further actions and future plans. So now once we do all this, improvements are naturally seen as an output of this activity. Once that happens, all this is done, couple of months have passed, we have conducted all this exercise of internal audit, management review, and if we are going for certification, so we need to get adequately trained by training organization. So we have got training organizations available here, TNV Certification Private Limited, approved by Exemplar Global INC for conducting accredited training for FSMS and 80 plus other courses, and FSMS certification under UAF with IAF, full involved with TNV Certification Private Limited. And here is the website. One can study the website and learn many more things than what we have discussed here today. Our website is very, very informative and knowledgeable. We have got TNV Academy, who is conducting these training courses for the benefit of the global ISO community. So this is what I thought I will discuss today. The policy, how it to be documented, how it should be related with the objectives, how communication needs to be done, how continuous improvement needs to be brought about, how the interested parties at appropriate needs to be taken into confidence, and how to understand the concept of policy. Without understanding the concept, the FSMS implementation will fail. We have come across the organization in past who have started implementing, but they have failed. Implementation has stopped because the concepts were not clear. They were implementing as mechanical, electrical, electronics, and chemical engineer purely the FSMS system. They were not having the FSMS teams who were adequately qualified and trained, as I said, by approved training courses to understand the concept of the food safety policy. And they make documents copied from here and there, and we go for auditing, and they fail into answers because the questions itself are different to us, then because they are not meaningful, logical, and understood by the teams. And policy should support the vision and direction of the top management. That is what we do when we go into the drafting and documentation and approval of the food safety policy. Provide training, displays, websites, softwares, and so on. Then we take action for the implementation of the food safety policy. Then we implement it throughout the organization involving interested parties and being a part of the statutory and regulatory boards, because statutory and regulatory requirements are much greater than other standards here. So very much required for food safety policy as well. And then willingness to review and take action wherever the prevent of growth and success is going to take place. Then comes to the analysis mode. We have 3-4 months data available of the FS policy implementation. So we do analysis of that. We conduct internal audit, management review of FSMS implementation with the support of a food safety policy. Then we conduct effective discussion in management review meeting in how many units which have been implemented, where are the lacunas, where they are missing, where display is not correct, where the concept is not clear, and then further improvements are brought into the certification system with the help of a food safety policy which is there to support FSMS with the support of clause 5.2 ISO 22000 standard. So if you have any questions, you are welcome, or the questions can be asked later on anytime. Apur will explain to you now.
Thank you, Bajpayee sir, for such a detailed discussion about FSMS policy. And as I said in my introduction as well, that food safety is the need of the today's era, and keeping the processed and manufactured food safe and healthy for the customers is the most identifiable and important need of today's market. The requirements and the detailed discussion which Bajpayee sir took today on this particular topic was very knowledgeable for all of us to understand the key aspects of FSMS policy, which should be understood by an organization before drafting this particular segment of ISO 22000 standard. The critical elements which should be addressed while drafting the FSMS policy were described very well by you, and we have been really benefited by the knowledge which you have shared. For all of our participants who joined the today's webinar, I would say that if you have any questions later on what was discussed today, then this particular video will be uploaded on our YouTube channel as always, as part of the webinar section, and you can watch it as many times as you want. In case you have any questions, then you can simply post your question in the comment section of the video, and we will be really happy answering them. So see you soon with an exciting new topic, maybe on FSMS or any other standard, as we are conducting webinars on regular basis from our end. And thank you all of you for your participation, for giving your valuable time. Thank you, Bajpayee sir, for taking out your time from your busy schedule and being the guest speaker for today's webinar. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you have a great day. Thank you. Best wishes from TNV Academy.